That's why they call me bad company. I can't deny bad company.
All right, welcome to the W2W View. I am the Knight, and joining me from his LA studios, as always, is the Raider Pirate. What's going on, Pirate?
What's going on, Raider Nation?
All right, Raider Nation, today is November 4th, 2016. We are just a few days away from our big matchup against the Denver Broncos, a national televised game. Both teams are 6-2. Denver Broncos have been on top of the AFC West for the last 2 or 3 years. They have been the dominant force in the AFC West, and in order to be the best, you must beat the best. This matchup has all the tales of greatness for the Raiders to return back to greatness, that is, and it's going to be a playoff atmosphere, hands down. This is for the top of the division. This is a national televised game. This is going to be a game that's going to help propel the Raiders into playoff mode because it's going to have that playoff feel to it. It's going to have that playoff style of football. So, Pirate, what do we got as far as what the media is already saying? What's some of the big stories out there today?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is, breaking news. I was looking at Stephen Michael's Twitter feed and his Facebook feed, and he posted out there that Aqib Talib is not going to be playing. So that's big. On our side, Amari Cooper, though, also has a bit of a back strain. That's the same thing, I think, that's holding Aqib Talib out at this point. So there may not be the best corner against the best receiver coming into this particular football game. That doesn't matter. We play again. It's all going to come out in the wash come December. But the bottom line is that Aqib Talib being out, that's big. That secondary really is predicated on having 2 lockdown corners and a third corner that is a number 1 or legitimate, very good number 2 corner. So now all of a sudden you got to do some shuffling around. You're not going to have Talib out there. They're going to have to push one of those guys. Roby's going to play at one end. Ward will play on the other side. And that means that a guy like Seth Roberts could come up big here going up against a fourth best DB, who still may be pretty good, but hey, I like the odds better than, going against 3 potentially number 1 type of shutdown corners. Then you look at Stacey McGee. Stacey McGee's not going to be in. He's been giving us a tremendous push. Like I said, we keep getting guys in here. They do a good job, and then all of a sudden they kind of get shelved for a little bit. McGee's been doing a great job. Again, I heard that the Raiders are not very happy right now with Dan Williams, that he's still overweight, that he still has an attitude, which, again, sparks kind of that debate that we had early on. Maybe this guy's in the doghouse. Maybe it has nothing to do with him physically. Maybe he did pass the physical, but, he has an entitled type of behavior. But it looks like we're going to be starting Perry Riley again. He's going to be playing in the middle. And the Raiders think that Jihad Ward can be really big in this particular game. They think he can be big in the middle. They think he can be big on the outside. So those are kind of the things pertaining to this game. There's a few other things we could talk about, of course. But you know what, folks? It's going down for real. It's going down for real. This is it, folks. Excitement. Everybody's excited. It's a great time right now to be a Raider fan.
I'm going to raise the bar a little bit on that whole Aqib Talib, Seth Roberts part of the deal. This is an opportunity for guys like Seth Roberts and Andre Holmes if Cooper can't go, which I'm going to assume at this point that Cooper can not go, okay? So Seth Roberts, has been our go-to guy in game-winning type situations, in large part to the fact that they're going to pay so much attention to guys like Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree, correct? This is an opportunity also for Michael Rivera as well as Clive Walford. I was listening to 95.7 The Game this morning. They were talking about the difference between a Michael Rivera and a Clive Walford, and they were really impressed the way that Michael Rivera played last week. Now, and they say that Clive Walford really hasn't reached his potential. Now, if you look at the way that we've been playing offense, have we really truly given Clive Walford the opportunity to showcase what he can fully do on a week in and week out basis? No, we haven't. So Clive Walford, to me, is still a huge threat, especially in this game. They used him early on. He made some plays and he dropped some plays, but they really haven't implemented him into this offense. So I'm looking forward to seeing these tight ends kind of pick up some of that Amari Cooper slack, as well as the other thing that intrigues me, and his name has not been mentioned in this scenario, is a guy like Johnny Holton. This guy really came on in the preseason. And if there's one thing that I keep hearing Derek Carr talk about when it comes to Johnny Holton, this guy is more than just a speed guy. He's more than just a guy that can get them yak yards. He's a great route runner. So this might be an opportunity because, rookies, we saw it last year with Seth Roberts, especially in the Denver game, when Carr threw the pick to Chris Harris in the fourth quarter that really kind of separated the Broncos from us at home in the first matchup. It was a misread by Seth Roberts. He didn't cut and turn his head around for the ball when he should have. So, that could be something you look at with Johnny Holton being a rookie, not maybe understanding every situation, but there's going to be plenty of opportunities for you to put Johnny Holton into this football game and maybe hit him on a slant or hit him on a wide receiver screen and make him a part of this offense. He has great breakaway speed. He has great route running skills. It might be something interesting to keep an eye on there, partner.
Yeah, and once again, I mean, even though Amari Cooper is on the injured, and they did talk about the potential of a back strain, all signs are saying that he's going to go, that he's not going to miss, that it's not a concern. However, this coaching staff has a history of saying, you know what, yeah, he's got a back, he's got a knee, he's got this, he's got that. They don't really tell you too much. And, there's obvious reasons for doing that. I'm totally fine with doing that. But again, the Mario Edwards Jr. thing, he should have been back by now. It appears that this injury may be a little bit more significant than what we thought. He absolutely had to go on that injured reserve. It was not an option to keep a spot. This is a guy that they just didn't want to say, hey, this is a really bad bruise and maybe something, we're really trying to, his neck is feeling bad again and we want to make sure we give him enough time to tighten it up or whatnot. So all signs are pointing to Amari Cooper being in there. But again, like I said, that's coming from the coaching staff. And this is a coaching staff that likes to keep everything close to the vest. But again,
right.
Like we talked about, hopefully, we don't try to use Amari Cooper and Crabtree as our primary weapons. Like you said, we really need to take that page out of Atlanta's book, use those tight ends up the seam. And again, Rivera, I think, is faster. He catches better. Not as good of a blocker. That's fine. But the bottom line is that he will threaten that seam against these linebackers. Perfect for this type of game. You keep in that extra offensive tackle as your tight end. You run the ball. You got to run the ball at Von Miller. If you got two, we got to do to them what people have been doing to Khalil Mack all season long. Locate that guy. You go ahead and shift your offensive tackle over to wherever he goes. Two guys got to be on that guy, and you got to run right at him. You got to tire out that guy where, Miller. Pound the ball. Let's get in there. Let's pound the ball, and then let's attack those seams. Let's get those running backs, when they are biting on the play-action fake, let's get those running backs to cut up the middle, just like Atlanta did, and catch some balls. Guys like DeAndre Washington, Richard are so explosive in the open field. We don't utilize them enough. I really wish we would. Love the fact that they got the tight ends involved. I think that we can attack the middle of this field. I think Cooper and Crabtree are the secondary targets. Because that's just what this defense does. It forces you to find other ways to beat it. You're not going to beat it by dropping back 5 steps and trying to throw the ball deep to your wide receivers. It's just not going to happen. They play really well, in some of their underneath zone coverages, but their linebackers just can't cover fast, speedy, shifty receivers. And like I said, the last couple of weeks, man, we've really been putting an emphasis on that. So I really enjoy that.
And when you look at this football game, Pirate, we could talk about our Raider defense all day going up against this Denver Broncos offense, but that's really not where the game's really going to come down to. It's going to be a part of it. You have to look at all aspects of this football game. But it comes down to this Raiders offense versus this Denver Broncos defense. And what we saw last week in Tampa was Bill Musgrave utilizing his tight ends more. They hit Wally, like we mentioned before all week, on a wheel route down the sideline. So they were kind of already testing the waters, if you will, on some of these plays and utilizing some of these situations. So maybe they were gearing up to make that a heavy part of what we're going to see from this Raiders offense this week. And, when I look at this game, it's really going to come down to something that we've been really prideful and really talked heavily and nice about is our offensive line. When you look at our offensive line, it was built for a game like this. We got to go up against Ware. We got to go up against Von Miller. We got to go up against guys like Shane Ray. They're going to want to bring the heat. So we have to capitalize on the fact that you can run on the Denver Broncos. Now, I don't want to turn this into a run-happy game, but we definitely have to put more of an emphasis on the running game. We talk about Latavius Murray and how inconsistent he's been ever since, 2 years ago, really. But this is an opportunity for Latavius Murray to earn that spot that he keeps getting every single week, which is our big horse, our big work back. Put him in the eye and run him behind big guys like Osembele Hudson and Gabe Jackson. This is what we have. This is what we built in the middle of this offensive line. Now we need to fully utilize it, really explode off the line of scrimmage and get these guys in space. And if Murray can actually run as hard as he has been, especially inside the red zone, it really sets up. Once again, I mentioned this before and I didn't see it, but the second half could be taken over by guys like Washington and Richard if we wear down this defensive line of the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about, again, is that right tackle position. It's been something that we've had to worry about. I think when Lee Smith was in there, he helped to solidify that, working in tandem with whoever was there at that right tackle position. I think, in terms of the running game, I think it's a really good matchup to have a guy like Kirkland or whatever offensive, tackle or guard that you have in there to take up for the tight end. But I think in terms of pass blocking, Austin Howard I think has done a subpar job. Every time I see Derek Carr sacked, it's, Austin Howard letting somebody shoot right by him. He has trouble with speed on the outside. And again, I think Denver Kirkland and him together maybe still aren't enough to be a good matchup in terms of matching up against somebody like Von Miller. So you're going to have Latavius Murray in there to block. I agree with you. He's going to have to pound and get some hard yardage, wear this defense down. Perfect case scenario, they go in there, they pound the ball, run the ball, get these guys tired, attack the middle of the field, with the running backs and the tight ends. And then as this defense really starts to feel it, okay, we've been coming to the body. We ain't coming to the body no more. Now it's time to come to the head. Now it's time for the uppercut. And we need, bam, we've been pounding you. We've been hitting you. We've been hitting you. We ain't hitting you to the body no more. You're tired now. Your knees are weak, man. Now it's bam, and then we got to come out and we got to hit them hard. And that's Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree in the end zone, just taking the wind out of these guys. No, your pass rush isn't effective. No, your cornerbacks can't stop us. Oh, look, maybe these guys are elite, or maybe you guys aren't elite. Whatever it is, right? They hold the belt right now. They got that big belt on, says we're the champions, we're the best in the world. Okay, that's fine. But this is a new season. So, once again, like I said, if we come out there, and I know Bill Musgrave is going to do this because this is what he does in every game. You're coming out, you're jabbing, just like Muhammad Ali. Didn't try to come in there and Mike Tyson. You jab, keep jabbing. Now the rounds, all of a sudden you start getting tired, and then boom, he's going to come and he's going to pop you one. And that's what we got to do this week against the defending world champions. You got to beat the best if you want to be the best.
Absolutely. And Raider Nation, we understand what needs to be done, especially as far as the Raiders go. We talked about it this week. We talk about it every week. We know our football team. You know our football team. We're excited for this game, but we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to bring in our NFL insider, Louie T from the Louie T Network, to get the other side of the story and get his thoughts on how he looks at this Raider offense going up against this Denver Bronco defense. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the W2W review. I am the Knight, joined by the Raider Pirate, as well as we're getting ready to bring in our NFL insider, a guy who covers the league like a blanket. Who else could it be but our man, Louie T? What's up, Louie?
Going on, Knight? What's going on, Pirate? As always, it's a pleasure to bless the program, will to win. Let's talk some Oakland Raiders football. Huge AFC West matchup coming up on Sunday Night Football.
Absolutely, brother, man. It's going to be a game of the ages. I think it's going to be the best NFL game we've seen this season. It's on Sunday night. It's on national television. We got the Raiders offense going against the Denver Broncos defense. That's been our main focal point. So we want to start with you, as always, brother. We want to know your thoughts with Aqib Talib out and Amari Cooper having some back issues. How do you think this affects this Sunday night's matchup?
Those are huge injuries there for the Denver Broncos. The biggest thing I've seen from the Broncos this year in terms of their defense and it taking a step back is they can be run on. They're not as stout up front as they have been in the past. They lost a lot of key players in the middle of their defense. Danny Trevathan, Malik Jackson are a couple of guys that are no longer there, and it hurts them in the running game. That being said, they can still get after the quarterback. They still have a secondary, despite the injury to Aqib Talib that forced 3 interceptions of Phillip Rivers last week. They still are guys that can play the game, that can get after your quarterback, that can force some errant throws and force you into some mistakes. So it's still a very volatile and explosive and dynamic and dangerous defense. But those are some key injuries there in this football game, and it may allow the Raiders to have some mismatches on the football field. Deciding who to go to is going to be key in what situations. We talk about this every week. It's a matchup league. You got to find ways to isolate players and get matchups that you like. And so they still have 2 really good corners out there in Chris Harris Jr. and, of course, Bradley Roby. So you're still going to have to deal with some guys that can make plays on the football. So it'll be interesting to see how the Raiders decide to attack because they're down one of their better corners in Aqib Talib.
All right, Louie, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing wonderful, man. What about yourself?
I'm doing good, brother. Let's take this and let's move this over to the other side with the Raiders. We know Sean Smith is going to be out. We know Aqib Talib is going to be out. Now, when you take a look at this Raiders secondary, and I've kind of looked at it this way all season, I think Amerson is obviously our best corner. At times, he's played really, really, really well, best in the league. At other times, he's had some up and down games. Looking at him, tall, kind of rangy, going up against Denarius Thomas. We're probably going to be playing T.J. Carey on the other side with Hayden in the middle. How do you think this secondary matches up? I know that they don't throw the ball as much down the field the way that they used to with Peyton Manning and, because he got a little bit older. But how do you see this matchup, Sean Smith being out? Do you think it's a big deal, or do you think, like I do, that they should still be able to play pretty competitively against this football team?
It'll be interesting. I'm fascinated by that dynamic because I don't really think that Sean Smith would have helped you in this game necessarily. But I thought T.J. Carey actually played well when he came in last week versus Tampa Bay. So I want to see how he does because this is a different animal. He's stepping up to the big leagues this week. And I'm telling you right now, one of the most underrated receivers in the league is Emmanuel Sanders. And I would argue that he is the Broncos' best receiver. Demaryius Thomas is a big play threat. He's a guy that, can get you at any time, but he also dropped the football. Without a doubt, their most consistent receiver is Emmanuel Sanders. And because of that, I'm a little worried that T.J. Carey might be in over his head because I think the way I look at it is the Raiders are going to go in thinking, okay, we need to put David Amerson on their best, quote-unquote, their best receiver, which is going to be Demaryius Thomas, like you just mentioned. And I think he could do a pretty bang-up job on him. He may give up a play here or there, but I don't think he's going to get scorched or anything of that sort. But I do worry about T.J. Carey because Emmanuel Sanders, to me, is the best receiver the Denver Broncos have. If you ask me in my honest opinion right now, he's playing better to me than Demaryius Thomas is. And he's more reliable. He's a guy that will make a diving stab. He's a guy that will go over the middle. He's a guy that will get you deep. And so if T.J. Carey isn't sound in his principles, he could have himself a long day against a really good receiver in this league. And Trevor Siemian isn't the greatest, but he isn't the worst either, and I think he can get the ball to guys when they're open. So it'll be interesting to see how this secondary stands. I will tell you this, Carl Joseph is playing a lot better. He's playing a lot more instinctual. He's starting to read the field and read the quarterback a lot better. Did get penalized for a defensive receiver penalty last week. He could have had another one. I thought that one in overtime versus Mike Evans was another one he got away with. But in any event, he's starting to look more like the guy we saw coming out of West Virginia that roams the field and is just playing with a reckless abandon. I call it controlled aggression. He controlled chaos. These guys starting to really move around the field well, and that bodes well for the Raiders as well in that second.
All right, Louie, as much as I believe that this is going to be a tale of the Raiders' offense versus the Denver Broncos' defense, I kind of want to stick to the defensive side of the ball as it pertains to the Raiders. You mentioned that Trevor Siemian's not the best, but he's not the worst. He kind of gets the job done when he has to. The Denver Broncos are going to be rolling out Devontae Booker. I think he's questionable, but it's probably most likely he'll start the game. He's a little banged up. I mean, he's actually shown that he's definitely talented enough to especially run on a team that's shown the ability to give big plays in the running game. But we've done a lot better in the last few weeks, especially in the middle of this defense, adding Perry Riley Jr. into the middle. And now we're going to be rotating Jahad Ward on the inside a little bit more. What are some of your thoughts about really us focusing in on the run game and making the Denver Broncos one-dimensional?
I think that's a huge and a great point you just made, because they want to stay balanced. They don't have a quarterback that you just put it on his shoulders and say, hey, go win us a game. So their goal and objective every week is to stay balanced, run the football, to set up play-action fake down the field. And that's a staple of the Gary Kubiak coached offense. You want to run the football, establish the run, get the defense to bite up on play-action fake, and then take your shot over the top. That being said, Devontae Booker, to me, gives them a little bit more explosiveness in their run game, but in that same breath, he's a guy that has fumbled this year, and I think he's still trying to figure out some things in the run game. He's not running as confidently as I think he can because of those fumbling issues. He's more concerned with keeping the two hands on the ball and not fumbling and, just being natural and running like he did when he was at Utah. So I think if you're the Raiders, there are some opportunities in this game to make the Broncos one-dimensional. And if you can do that, the Broncos' offensive line is not good. Okay, we saw Khalil Mack go off for 2 sacks and a ton of pressures last week versus Donovan Smith and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He can do the same thing to Russell Okung, who struggled mightily last week versus San Diego. They gave up pressures last week. They gave up hits. They forced a fumble of Trevor Siemian. I can see the same thing happening in this game, but the key is, like you said, you have to stop the run first, put them in long down and distance situations, which allows your defensive ends and your guys along that defensive line to know that they're passing and to pin their ears back and go after the quarterback.
All right, well, we're looking at a Sunday night game. This is probably one of the Raiders' biggest games in 10, 12 years. You got a division foe coming in to take the lead in the division. I want to swing it back over once more. I know we're going back and forth. This is more like tennis, but now I want to bring a boxing analogy in here. You got a guy like Bill Musgrave who's a jabber. He's a guy that's not going to come out. He's not going to go deep on you. He's not going to attack you. He's going up against a guy that is an attacker. Wade Phillips, he's going to send the house at you. He's going to try to pound you with that big punch and just knock you to the ground. Now, this reminds me, if you're a boxing fan, Roberto Duran versus Sugar Ray Leonard, right? You got the Hands of Stone coming up against a guy that's just dancing all over the field, just kind of jabbing. Talk to me about how you see this particular matchup, because while we as Raider fans may not like the fact that we have our Sugar Ray dancing around and popping. Talk to us about the difference in philosophies of these two football teams and these two coordinators, particularly Musgrave going up against our division rival at this point. I mean, do you feel like we have to be aggressive, or do you think that we can just kind of play the same type of offense that we've been playing up until this point?
Well, to stick with your boxing analogy, styles makes fights. And I look at it like this. The Raiders, we've been saying this all season long. We've been talking about this on this very program. I've even said it on my own program, that the Raiders need to be more aggressive to start games. They always seem to start slow and then pick up steam as the game progresses. You saw how it got them in trouble last week. You end up going to overtime in a team that you thoroughly dominated but had a ton of penalties and allowed them to stay in the game. And so it's a situation where I look at this game and I say, look, Wade Phillips had a little spill last week. He's going to be up in the press box this week calling the game. He's, like you said, an aggressive defensive coordinator. He pulls no punches. If he gets an opportunity on 3rd and 9, he's going to send the house if he feels the need to send the house. That being said, he's got a bunch of guys. DeMarcus Ware is back. Last week was his first game, and he looked damn good. So that's another guy you got to concern yourself with if you're the Raiders protecting the quarterback. But that being said, if I'm a Bill Musgrave, you got to be more aggressive. I remember last year in this very same spot against the Denver Broncos, you had those guys dead to rights, and then Derek Carr throws an interception, and that proved to be the game winner. You lose the game something like 17-9 or some nonsense like that. And you can't beat the Denver Broncos by jabbing. You can't win this one on the scorecards. If you're going to beat the Denver Broncos, you need to go in there. Don't put this in the judges' hands, okay? Don't put this in the officials' hands because you already see they don't mind flagging you 23 times. So if you're sticking with the boxing analogy, don't leave this to chance with the judges and the scorecards. Go for the knockout. I'd come out. I'd be aggressive. Derek Carr right now is playing at an MVP-like level. You go out there, they're one man down at the cornerback position. You go out and you spread the field and you let these guys have it. Now, I said earlier that they're having trouble stopping the run. If you pass effectively early, it's going to open up the run game for you later. It doesn't have to be, well, let's establish the run because they're struggling stopping the run so we can throw the football. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be the other way around. Establish your pass early, which will then force them to make adjustments, and then you can slide in some runs that can have some effectiveness. If I'm Bill Musgrave, this is the one time that I come out of my little comfort zone, out of my little bubble, and I start to be aggressive early in the game and see if I can't build some momentum. Remember, the Raiders have struggled at home. I would feel much more comfortable. This sounds idiotic. I feel much more comfortable if this game was actually in Denver, the way that this Raiders team is playing right now. They seem to play better on the road.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to get the crowd involved early and build some momentum and get the Broncos on their heels early in this game and not the other way around.
All right, Louie, with that all being said, great stuff as always. Why don't you go ahead and give us your prediction for this week's matchup? Sunday Night Football, the Oakland Raiders versus the Denver Broncos. Everything on the line. The winner takes the top of the AFC West. What you got?
This is AFC West family business at its finest. This is what we've all been waiting for quite some time. When the Raiders are good, the NFL is just better. It just seems that way. It's much like basketball when the Lakers or the Celtics are good, the Knicks. Basketball just seems better. Baseball when the Yankees and the Red Sox, those teams are good. It just seems when the Raiders are good, football just seems better. So this is a really big matchup. And I'm one more decisive, big-time win away from buying into this Oakland Raiders team. Look, I feel like the AFC conference is set in terms of its 6 playoff teams. The 6 teams that are in there right now are going to be your 6 playoff teams. If you look at the rest of that conference, there's no one else that's going to jump in and take one of those teams out unless the AFC North champion, which is the Steelers right now, or winner right now is the Steelers, they falter and allow someone else to take that. But other than that, those 6 teams are locked in. The Raiders are going to make the playoffs this year unless they have some kind of catastrophic collapse. But that being said, I look at it the way that it's configured, and I look at this Raiders team, and I said, you're one more real victory away from winning. I haven't seen that signature win yet this season. So you had a chance to get one against Kansas City, you lost. You had a chance to get one against Atlanta, you lost. So I'm looking for a signature victory. The Jacksonville win was nice. It's Jacksonville. The Tampa Bay win was nice. It's Tampa Bay. This is a real opponent. The Raiders have struggled at home this season. As much as I want to pick the Raiders, because I told you, I might be the biggest non-Raiders Derek Carr fan that there is. This guy is just phenomenal, and I feel like he's the best quarterback under the age of whatever he is in the league. And honestly, he's a top 5 quarterback in the league, period, right now. That being said, that Denver Broncos defense is still good. And I just don't know if I trust the Raiders yet in this type of spot. I haven't seen this team in this type of spot. This is a big game. And I don't know if they're going to put too much emphasis on this game, overhyped it, be too overwhelmed by the moment and not come out and just play loose Raiders football. I could see them coming out being a little tight, pressing, making some mistakes they don't normally make. I'm really going to be keying in on this game to see how the Raiders respond to this moment. I said all of that to say this. I'm going with the Denver Broncos in this game, and it pains me to do this because I actually think the Raiders are in a really good position to win this game. Offensively, they're playing outstanding football. Defensively, they might be playing the best football they've played all season. But that, again, I take that with a grain of salt because of the last two opponents. So I look at the Denver Broncos and I say they're not playing the best football that they've played all season, but they've won games. They've been here before. They're battle-tested. This moment isn't going to be too big for them. They've been in plenty of these with the core group and nucleus of the team that they have now. So I'm anxious to see how the Raiders deal with this because they haven't been here. I'm going to take the Denver Broncos just because of the comfort level with them in these type of spots. Give me the Denver Broncos in this game 24-20 over the Oakland Raiders at the Coliseum.
All right. Well, that being said, I think, before we go, there are a couple of things to consider. I look at it. Trevor Siemian hasn't been there before. Devontae Booker hasn't been there before. This is not a great offensive line. This is a team that needs to be respected. I do agree with you on that. But I think we had the opportunity in Kansas City, and they blew it. Now they understand, look, if we want to be serious, we got to get this game. We got to start winning at home. I said it on yesterday's show. They couldn't win on the East Coast. They've done that. They couldn't put 3 victories together. They've done that. They haven't gone 5-0 on the road in a very long time. They've done that. They're building and building and building. I'm excited about this football game. So for me, I think we're going to get it. I think we're going to get it by 10 points. But I said that in the I said that also in the Chiefs game. Didn't quite get it. So I'm doubling down. Right? Yeah. We've been all over the place today, man. We've been all over the place. Tennis. Yeah. We a little bit of boxing, some football. Now I'm going to get into just being straight up right there at the table, pushing the chips in. Knight?
I'm going to have to agree. I don't know if it'll be a 10-point victory. I got us winning late in the fourth quarter with the Janikowski field goal. I'm going to stick to my prediction of 24-21 Raiders. But all in all, it's going to be a great matchup. We're all excited. We can't wait. Louie, before we let you go, why don't you let our listeners know where they could find you, brother?
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Again, allowing me to come and bless the Will to Win, man. It's an awesome program, and I'm glad to be a part of it. That being said, you can find me on a number of social media platforms, the biggest of which is YouTube. Louie T Network is my YouTube channel. Lots of great content over there. We're doing a lot of different things. We're changing the game, as I like to say, with one live feed at a time. I'll actually be breaking down that Raiders and Broncos matchup directly after the game on my Sunday Night Football overtime series. So there'll be some direct analysis after that game as well. So come check me out on the Louie T Network. I'm also on Twitter at In the Lab Room, INTHELABROOM. So at In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me so you can be up on my latest post. And when I go live, you'll get notifications if you follow me on Twitter. And also I'm on Facebook. And that's something that I'm starting to work on now as well. So In the Lab Room on Facebook as well. So check me out there. Give me a like on the Facebook page. So those are all my social media platforms. And once again, I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to bless the Will to Win.
No, absolutely, Louie. We really appreciate you coming on every week and giving us the other side of the story, if you will. Guys, if you guys ain't checking out Louie T on the Louie T Network on YouTube and all of his other sites, Twitter, Facebook, you must go check out this man. He covers the league like the blanket. And let me tell you, man, this guy has just been a great addition to our show. So we really appreciate you, Louie. And we want you guys to remember, you guys could follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at The Will to Win, or email us any questions and concerns at the w2w@gmail.com. That is the w2w@gmail.com. For the Raider Pirate, for Louie T, I am the Knight, and we will see you guys directly after the game right here on YouTube, breaking it down as well. So until then, you stay Raider strong.
And that's why they call me